How's it going, guys, and welcome to the Minute channel. Today we have a discussion video here, more of kind of expressing my thoughts and feelings, more detailed on Shin Megami Tensei V. This is still not a spoiler talk. I'm still not ready to do a spoiler talk yet. We'll probably try to do something more elaborate, like a podcast or something like that, but I felt like this will be an interesting subject to talk about now that I have released my review and I see more people have finished the game, and I can maybe talk a little bit more detailed as far as what I want, some things that I wanted to express more on my review that I didn't really get a chance. If you haven't seen my review, I love the game. I thought it was a really good game and a really fun game, and a game that I really waited for a long time. And personally, I thought that it was worth the wait, a game that I waited for quite a bit of time for it to be released, and I give it a 9 out of 10. I really liked a lot of the stuff about the games. However, as I was playing through the game, there was one thing particularly that really kind of catch me off guard. Something that I expected, well, at least didn't expect to the extent that I kind of saw here in this game, and I mentioned kind of this on my review a little bit, so kind of just gonna jump right into that. Basically, the storyline and more per se the way that they carry certain characters in this game can leave a lot to be desired, but then, I mean, I feel like they were really lacking in development, and I don't mean that in like the persona side or anything like that. I mean just basic development. Even compared to other Shin Megami Tensei games, it is known and it's well known that Shin Megami Tensei games, particularly mainline, aren't really well versed on what I will call story-driven stories. They do have more big picture elements. However, although they do are very big picture as far as game kind of stuff, any game on the Shin Megami Tensei series, they typically do have some very interesting characters that bring some very interesting things to the table, whether it's the way that they carry themselves, the charisma they have, or the alignment that they go through. There's typically something that makes the characters unique to that particular game, but also they kind of serve as a way for the character to kind of learn more about the story or the lore or whatever is going on. So although yes, it is known that Shin Megami Tensei games typically do have a more archaic way to tell stories, or even the way that characters interact with each other is not in that level of persona or anything like that. This game really did lack some of those aspects, particularly the characters, which is interesting because we did have a lot of trailers for this game. In fact, I want to say that this is probably the most advertised game Atlas has ever put out, and I mean this including Persona. Even Persona 5 was not as heavily as advertised as this game. We're talking about trailers every other week. We had a ton of advertisement from different venues, such as Famitsu articles, pictures that were releasing, trailers. They had several trailers depicting the characters and the storylines and everything. So the game really pictured these characters as very consequential to the story, which some of them are, some of them aren't as consequential. But it really did picture a different type of frame for the characters and everything. And looking back in kind of retrospective from the way that I played the game and watched the trailers and everything like that, looking now back at it, it really did seem like the characters were going to be taking more of an active role in the story and in the way that the story developed, the way the characters developed and everything. Obviously, Shin Megami Tensei games don't really, like, although all the mainline games are very different from each other. For example, Nocturne is nothing alike to like SMT2 or 4. They're all very different kind of games, and I really expected to have something different here. I don't mean it like in a I had expectations of something like Persona or anything. More like I really expected something in between, maybe like SMT4 or Strange Journey or something like that, because those games, what they do is they are more character focused. They do have more of an interaction with the characters. In fact, a lot of the characters even, I'll say, drive certain stories in a really interesting direction, especially Strange Journey with the characters that you meet along the way. Jimenez being one of them, the ones that I particularly recall from that game that I really enjoy. Some other games like Shin Megami Tensei IV have characters like Isabu, for example, and the other samurai that you travel along with. All of them have really interesting stories here, and while I per se wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing that the characters are not like the other games, because to me personally, I don't really look at comparing other games to enjoy a game, and which is why I don't necessarily am upset at the way that they did the game. I particularly do think that this was a flaw of the game, because it does not flow as well as it should. I do feel like there are times where the game almost kind of skips storylines, or not storylines per se, more like character growth. There are times where characters hint that there's something going on in their storyline, something kind of triggers them to the next level to kind of take them above of what's going on in the story, and then nothing really happens, and then by the time that you meet the characters again, the development already happened, but you don't know about it because you didn't experience it with them or anything like that. So sometimes it's kind of hard to kind of navigate through a little bit of the story, especially like also like half to 3/4 of the game. That's when the game kind of starts to lose you in that end. Again, with no spoilers or anything, I really just feel like there were some aspects of the game that lacked some fluidity, if you will. There were times where like the story was taking you places, and as you were kind of dragging along with the story, I'm like, yeah, they're not really trying. They're trying to make me feel for these characters, but I have seen them for like maybe 5 minutes in story time, so it really makes it hard to kind of relate to the characters, or even just like know what the characters are up to. Like, I don't mean it like a, oh man, we need to have these heart-to-heart conversations or anything. I legitimately mean in the fact that some of these things that happens in the game are really meant to make you feel a certain way, and there's just no way for you to feel any kind of way because you don't know the characters yet or anything like that. Again, without going into spoilers, it's a little bit hard to discuss with this subject, but I hope that based on my explanation kind of makes sense where I'm coming from or anything like that. It is still a really good game, and I mentioned before, I really enjoyed a lot of the aspects of the game. Easily one of my favorite games of this year, and what I like to do with this kind of stuff, I always like to discuss the good and the bad, because I always think that there's no perfect game. There are games that always have like some kind of flaws, some kind of things that you can look at it. The game could have done some things better, and that's kind of the situation here. The game could have done some things better. I still love what I played here, and although there are some things that I'll say it could have been changed for the better or anything like that, I still don't regret my experience with it. I still think it's a fantastic game. I don't regret having a 9 out of 10 on my review for this game. It is a game that I still really very much enjoy. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, and tell me, how do you feel about Shin Megami Tensei V? If you have already finished the game, or if you're still kind of playing through it. Again, this is not a game, but I'm not shitting on the game. I'm not trying to kind of talk about the bad or anything like that. But I always feel like it's a good point of kind of just talking about the good and the bad. I would like to talk more about the good stuff and everything, maybe do some more videos about like things like the gameplay or the exploration, because this game does have some aspects that I really enjoy in the game and in the story and everything. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're more interested in Shin Megami Tensei content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.